3 public relations firms. That's how many the Duchess of Sussex has reportedly cycled through in recent months, when even the most expensive crisis management experts in Hollywood can't seem to stop the bleeding. You know something has gone catastrophically wrong. This isn't just a PR problem anymore. This is a reputation in absolute freefall, and the ground is approaching fast. Let's talk about what's really happening behind the palace walls, or rather, behind the walls of that Montecito mansion. Because whilst Harry and Meghan promised us a new chapter of freedom and authenticity when they left the royal family in 2020, what we've witnessed instead is a masterclass in how to alienate just about everyone. The numbers don't lie. Recent polling data from both sides of the Atlantic paint a brutal picture. In Britain, Meghan's approval ratings have plummeted to levels that would make even the most scandal-plagued politicians wince. We're talking about negative ratings hovering around historic lows. But here's what's truly shocking even in America. Where she was supposed to be the California girl made good, the tide has turned dramatically. According to recent surveys, more Americans now view Meghan unfavorably than favorably. Think about that for a moment. This was meant to be her home turf, her safe space, the land where she could reinvent herself away from the stuffy British tabloids. Yet somehow, she's managed to squander that goodwill too. So what exactly went wrong? Well, where do we even begin? Let's start with the credibility crisis. When you sit down for that Oprah interview and make explosive claims about the royal family, claims about racism, about being denied mental health support, about Archie being denied a title for sinister reasons, you'd better make sure your facts are straight. Because when those claims start unraveling under scrutiny, when timelines don't match up, when palace insiders provide receipts that contradict your narrative, people notice. The problem isn't just that some of the allegations have been disputed, it's that once your credibility takes a hit on something this serious, everything else you say gets viewed through a lens of skepticism. It's the boy who cried wolf, except this boy had a multi-million-pound Netflix deal and a global platform. Then there's the hypocrisy factor, and this is where things get really uncomfortable for brand Sussex. You cannot I mean this quite literally, cannot, lecture the world about privacy whilst simultaneously selling that privacy for profit. You can't complain about media intrusion whilst courting paparazzi for carefully staged photographs. You can't position yourselves as environmental warriors whilst taking private jets to climate conferences. The British public, and increasingly the American public too, have a finely tuned radar for this sort of thing. They can smell inauthenticity from a mile away. And when you're preaching one thing and practicing another, that radar goes into overdrive. If you're finding this deep dive into the Sussex saga fascinating, make sure you're subscribed to Royal Daily Report. We bring you the unfiltered truth about what's really happening in royal circles, without the Hit that subscribe button now so you don't miss our next investigation. Now, let's talk about the streaming failures, because this is where the financial reality starts to bite. Harry and Meghan signed deals with Netflix and Spotify, reportedly worth over £100 million. The expectation was clear: they would deliver content that audiences actually wanted to watch and hear. Instead, what we got was a documentary series that felt more like a lengthy Instagram story, a podcast that got canceled after one series, and a distinct lack of the impactful content they'd promised. Spotify's head of podcast innovation didn't mince words when the Arcuel audio deal fell apart, with reports suggesting the couple were called grifters internally. When you're being labeled as grifters by the very company that paid you millions, that's not just a PR problem, that's a professional reputation catastrophe. Netflix has been slightly more diplomatic, but even they must be looking at the viewing figures and wondering what exactly they're getting for their money. The docuseries had initial curiosity viewership, sure, but where's the cultural impact? Where's the staying power? Where's the content that justifies that astronomical price tag? But perhaps nothing has damaged Meghan's reputation more than the treatment of her own family, both the one she was born into and the one she married into. The complete estrangement from her father, the public feuds with her half-siblings, the allegations against the royal family, the apparent rift with the Cambridges now, the Prince and Princess of Wales. It all adds up to a pattern that's impossible to ignore. Now, family dynamics are complicated, and we don't know everything that happens behind closed doors. But when you're estranged from virtually every family member except your mother, people start to ask questions. When palace staff members are allegedly reduced to tears, when there are reports of bullying that you refuse to properly address, When even your father-in-law, the king, apparently struggles to maintain a relationship with his own son because of your influence, rightly or wrongly, that reflects on you. The British public loved Meghan at first, truly loved her. She was seen as a breath of fresh air, a modernizing force, someone who could help the monarchy connect with a new generation. The wedding was a fairy tale. The approval ratings were sky high. She had the kind of goodwill that most public figures would kill for, and she's blown it. Spectacularly, comprehensively blown it. Here's where the PR firms come in, or rather, where they come in and then promptly head for the exit. According to reports, Meghan has burned through multiple public relations teams in quick succession. These aren't small-time operators. We're talking about these are top-tier professionals who've handled everyone from A-list celebrities to Fortune 500 CEOs. So why can't they fix this? Because you can't PR your way out of an authenticity problem. You can't spin your way back from broken trust. These firms are experts at managing narratives, at controlling damage, at putting the best possible face on difficult situations. But even they can't work miracles when the fundamental product, in this case, the Sussexes' public image, is compromised beyond repair. One insider reportedly said that working with Meghan was challenging because she knows better than the experts. There's that word again, challenging. It's become a euphemism, hasn't it? When someone's described as challenging in professional contexts, we all know what that really means. The latest reports suggest that the couple is now essentially trying to go it alone on the PR front, or working with a much smaller team. That's not a strategy born from confidence. That's what happens when the professionals give up. For those of you who've been following this saga from the beginning, you know that Royal Daily Report has been tracking every twist and turn. We've been bringing you the insider information, the analysis, the context that the mainstream media often misses. If you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. We're not here to blindly defend or attack anyone. We're here to tell you what's really happening. Let's address something important. Here, criticism of Meghan is not inherently racist or sexist. Despite what some defenders would have you believe, yes, she has faced racist abuse, and that's utterly inexcusable. Yes, the British tabloid media treated her appallingly at times. But legitimate criticism of her actions, her choices, her inconsistencies, that's not bigotry. That's accountability. The problem is that the racism card has been played so often that it's lost its power to deflect from genuine issues. When every piece of criticism is met with accusations of racism, people stop listening. They stop taking the genuine concerns about discrimination seriously because it's been weaponized as a shield against all criticism. This does a disservice to actual victims of racism. It cheapens the conversation. And ironically, it's made Meghan's position even more precarious. Because now even sympathetic observers are exhausted by the constant deflection. So where does this leave the Duchess of Sussex? Frankly, in a very difficult position. Her reputation in Britain is probably beyond repair at this point. The British public has made up its mind, and changing it would require a level of humility and accountability that we simply haven't seen. In America, there's still perhaps a chance to rebuild, but it would require a complete strategic pivot. It would mean actually delivering on those content promises. It would mean genuine charitable work that isn't just a photo opportunity. It would mean lowering the profile, building credibility through actions rather than words. And this is crucial, stopping the constant stream of complaints about how hard done by she is. Because here's the brutal truth that no PR firm can sugarcoat. People are tired of hearing a millionaire duchess complain about her oppression from her California mansion. They're tired of the victimhood narrative. They're tired of the contradictions. They're tired of being lectured by someone who seems to have very different standards for herself than for everyone else. The reputation freefall isn't happening because of a coordinated media conspiracy. It's not happening because of racism, sexism, or jealousy. It's happening because actions have consequences, and the court of public opinion has rendered its verdict. Can this be turned around? In theory, yes. People do love a good redemption arc. But it would require Meghan to do something she's shown very little willingness to do so. For admit she got things wrong, genuinely listen to criticism, and chart a radically different course. The tragedy in all this, and it is a tragedy, that Meghan had the opportunity to be genuinely transformative. She could have been a bridge between different worlds, different cultures, different generations. She had the platform, the resources, and initially, the public support. The fact that it's ended up here, with her reputation in tatters and PR firms unable to fix the damage, is a monumental waste of potential. As we watch this situation continue to unfold, one thing is clear: we haven't seen the bottom yet. Until there's a fundamental change in approach, until there's genuine accountability and authentic action rather than carefully crafted PR statements, this freefall is going to continue. And no amount of expensive crisis management is going to change that reality. The question now isn't whether Meghan's reputation can be saved, it's whether she even recognizes that it needs saving. Because the first step to fixing a problem is admitting you have one, and we're still waiting for that admission.